Hey guys, welcome to this video. My name is Alex, and today I'm going to be telling you guys why your savings rate, or how much you save each year, will determine your future. Let's get straight into it. Wouldn't it sound great to retire at 40 instead of 60? Well, you can do that, and there's a whole group of people on the internet called the FIRE community that aim to do just that. FIRE stands for financial independence and retiring early. The level you need to reach to be able to be financially independent and to retire early is when you have 25 years of your living expenses saved and invested. This is because of something known as the 4% rule. Essentially, you can withdraw 4% of your total investment portfolio, and over 20, 30, 40 years even, there's a very low likelihood of your money ever running out, and a large likelihood of you being able to sustain your lifestyle just by withdrawing 4% each year. So to find your financial independence number, all you need to do is take the yearly income that you would want to live on when you are financially independent and divide it by 4%. So for example, if you want your living expenses to be $40,000 a year when you retire, you would have to take $40,000 and divide it by 4%, which would give you 1 million. Once you have 25 years of expenses saved up and invested, at this point you can safely withdraw around 4% each year and have a very high likelihood of that money lasting for 30 years or more. But just saving by itself will get you nowhere. If you are saving and not investing, you will never have enough money to retire. If you were to save 10% of your income each year and you wanted to retire on that income level, it would take you 250 years in order to have enough money to be able to retire. This is without taking into account inflation. Yes, you have to save, but you also have to invest at the same period of time. I know this goes without saying, but I'd rather get that obvious thing off the table. So your ability to be financially independent and retire early depends on three main things: how much time you have and how long your investments have been growing for, your savings rate or how much you save each year, and the return you get on your investment. The two main things that you can really control are your time and your savings rate. The return is not something that you really have control over unless you are actively investing. However, if you're passively investing, the return is just the return you're going to get from the global stock market. If you were to passively invest in a broad global stock market ETF, you will have the return covered as you would get the returns of the global stock market. If you're passively investing to increase your returns, the only thing you can really do is try and keep your costs down by choosing an ETF with a low expense ratio. If you want to learn more about that, you can check out my previous video. In previous years, the average return for stocks has been around 10% before inflation and around 7% after inflation. The returns looking forward for the next 10 years are definitely not going to be that high based on projections from many financial companies. This is mainly due to the current excessive valuations in the stock market, as well as slowing growth in developed countries. Returns are expected to be anywhere from 4 to 5% in global stock markets after inflation, according to investment firm AQR. There are even projections for these returns to be even less, somewhere around 2 to 3%. So when you are using the returns in your calculator to be able to retire early, you might want to use a lower return for the next 10 years. This is because you want to hope for the best but plan for the worst. The other factor is time. So the earlier you start investing and saving, the better. This is because of compound interest. And this chart shows you exactly why. So this chart shows you how much $1 will turn into when you're 65, depending on the age at which you invested it in. Each dollar invested when you're 20 years old turns into $9 when you're 65. Each dollar invested at 25 only turns into $7, $5 at age 30, $4 at age 35, and $2 at age 50. This is mainly because of compound interest, and a dollar invested at 20 has more time to grow than a dollar invested at 35. These differences are so dramatic that saving a little bit of money earlier can put you in a much better situation than investing a lot more money later in life. Who do you think would end up with more money when they retire? A person who invested $8,000 a year from 20 to 30, or someone who invested $8,000 a year from 30 to 60. The first person over their lifetime is only investing $72,000, while the other person is investing $232,000. Logically, you would think that the second person would have way more money by the time they retire than the first person. The person who invested from only their 20s to their 30s would end up with $780,000, whereas the person who invested from their 30s to their 60s would end up with $750,000. This example shows you the huge impact of investing early and why you need to start as early as possible so that time is on your side. Obviously, you don't want to stop investing when you're 30. You want to keep investing until you retire. This second chart shows the impact of investing $8,000 a year for someone starting at 20 versus someone starting at 30. The person who started at 20 and just continued to invest would end up with 1.2 million, whereas the person who started at 30 would only end up with 625,000. This is at a 6% return. Let's say you want to reach $1 million by the time you retire. The longer you wait to invest, the more you will need to invest each year in order to achieve that. If you want to reach $1 million by the time you're 65, if you start investing when you're 20, you would only need to invest $5,000 each year. If you start when you're 30, you would need to invest 9,000 each year. If you start when you're 40, you would have to invest 19,000 each year. And if you were starting when you're 50, you would have to invest 43,000 each year to be a millionaire at 65. This is with a 6% real return. And just in case you guys didn't know, a real return is after inflation is taken into account. Regardless of your current age, it's always better to start investing now than putting it off and investing later. The goal is to invest as much as possible when you're younger. However, if you have debt, it goes without saying that you need to be paying off that debt, because the same way investments compound your wealth, debt can also compound and put you in a much worse situation. So it's super important to pay off your debt first. So I made this chart that can show you how long it'll take you to retire based on your savings rate. And this is assuming a 6% return. If you only save 10% a year, it'll take you 48 years to retire. If you save 20%, it'll take you 37 years to retire. If you save 30%, 31 years, 40%, 27, 50%, 25, and it goes on. As you can see, this sort of optimal point is saving anywhere from around 40 to 60%. So if you're able to get into that range, you can dramatically cut the amount of years that you have to work and you can retire earlier. If you're deciding between trying to save 20% or 30%, you can see here that the difference is 6 years of your life. To some people, they might not have a problem because they love their job and they might enjoy working 6 more years. However, for some people that really don't like their job, saving that extra 10% could really make a huge difference. And if you feel overwhelmed, even saving 5%, from what I've read, the best way to actually increase your savings rate is to track your spending for a couple of months, reduce the things you don't really need and put that into your savings. And then each year, just gradually try and increase your savings rate. Here are some statistics about retirement that I wanted to share with you guys. In the United States, only 21% of people can retire comfortably. The rest of people have to continue working or greatly reduce the amount they spend each year. In Europe, 50% of retirees say they won't be able to have the same lifestyle they did when they were working because they don't have enough money to support that lifestyle. 27% of Europeans have no savings, and 61% of Europeans who are close to retirement are worried about funding retirement. One of the reasons why I'm making this video is that no one should end up like that. No one should not have enough money or have to worry about money when they're retiring. And if you start early, you will never have to be in that situation because you have time working for you. For me, I've seen both sides of this. I have family in South Africa that never saved and never invested, and now they're retired and they have to continue working. It's not a situation that you want to be in. My dad, on the other hand, every single month he has saved and invested his money. And because of my dad's habit doing that, he can have a very comfortable retirement, and his savings over the years has given me an incredibly blessed life. Having a strong financial foundation gives you the ability to have more opportunity in life and to do things that you really want to do. You don't have to worry or be held back by not having enough. So if you go onto the Reddit Financial Independent Retire Early community, you can see a lot of different stories from people who have reached financial independence and their advice. You need to find a balance between enjoying your life currently and preparing for the future, because investing and saving is prioritizing your future. The amazing thing about this is that there is no right answer. You have to find a balance that works well for you. A very popular basic guide is to spend 50% of your income on your necessities, 30% on your wants, and to save 20% of your income and invest it. I think it's super important that more young people know about this, know about the importance of saving, and that the earlier you start, the better. So if you can, share it with your friends. I really hope you learned something interesting from this video. So I'm gonna put the Excel sheet with all the graphs and also a little calculator so you can put in your own details and figure out how long it'll take you to retire. That'll be in the description. If you guys have enjoyed and found any of this useful, please hit the subscribe button for more content like this, and I'll see you guys next time.